cooperation is another one with Obama. And uphold your traditions. Now, he also goes into this thing which I actually share. On this, he essentially evokes the metaphor of the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so Statue of Liberty, most American of all, in New York City, greatest American city, and it's French. It was built by the French. In my view, how this happened was the French were very nasty during the American Civil War. Right, Napoleon III was really a bad actor. He was supporting the Confederates. He was looking for a chance to intervene. He couldn't do it because of Russia, and indeed because of Prussia. The Prussian troops on the Rhine defended it. But it's the Statue of Liberty, and it does say, "Give me your tired, your poor, Emma Lazarus." We'll get back to that in a minute on World Crisis Radio. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Remember, keep up with all of this at tarpley.net, and Webster G. Tarpley Twitter feed. Follow me on Twitter and on Facebook. So we're all over the place. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on the normal internet. And you get the daily briefing. Subscribe to it. It will be sent to you for free. And this is really the time to do that. And that will also give you a way to not miss a single episode of this coming television service, which we are planning to launch. I hope certainly before the end of the year, and hopefully a bit earlier than that. So again, Obama, not that bad, could have been much worse. Discourage escalation. There's potential convergence of the United States and Russia. Get this damn Assad issue out of the way. The American people don't care about Assad. They care about destroying ISIS. That is the national will. So woe to those who stand in the way. And if you, of course, Obama, go out and do that, you'll be declared the victor, and you will solve a lot of your political problems. Right? The whole problem you've got is the phony war imposed by the Petraeus-Allen clique to keep hands off ISIS, appease ISIS, don't wipe them out in the way that would have been perfectly feasible. The other thing Obama wanted to point out with Hollande is Hollande, despite the Paris attacks, Hollande is taking 15,000 Syrian refugees per year for the next 2 years. So in that context, he brings up the Statue of Liberty and the Emma Lazarus quote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses learning to breathe free. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." And those are words to live by, I would say. That's my recipe for Americanism. And we'll hear later, my recipe for Americanism is good relations with Russia, who played a role in our Thanksgiving holiday. We're going to hear that again if you haven't heard it already. That's the big news. So this press conference, not that bad. Hollande, he says, c'est grave. It's very serious what has been done, but no escalation. No escalation. So with Obama saying it, with Hollande saying it, with even Wesley Clark, who's tuned in, right? He's wired in, saying, we don't know, it's not clear. I think Mad Dog Erdogan is going to have a little bit of a problem selling anything very aggressive to NATO. Watch out for that guy Stoltenberg. He's a warmonger. Va-t-en-guerre. That's Stoltenberg of the NATO. Well, he's the Secretary General of NATO, isn't he? I think the Stolt comes from the Latin stultus, meaning fool. So that's him. These wonderful Scandinavian warmongers, right? Ready to fight to the last American under all circumstances. Now, I wanted to also, once again, Hollande spoke of the need for cooperation between the United States and Russia. That is idée fixe, his opinion that he's maintained now ever since the Paris bombings on Friday the 13th. So cooperation between the United States and Russia, yes. And just take this Assad issue and bracket it, get it off the table, postpone it, delay it, finesse, do whatever you want. Get busy. Close the Jarablus corridor west of the Euphrates for 100 kilometers. in many ways, the Jarablus area with the roads that go through there, that's a lot of the ball game. But from Jarablus over to Efren to Aleppo, those are the areas that you need to interdict. That's where aviation should get busy. And of course, Russia, quite properly, decided that they could not tolerate terrorist rebels so close to their air base near Latakia and indeed their naval base down there at Tartus, which I've seen myself. I drove by on the way to Banyas, going from Homs to Tartus to Banyas. We've done it, coming and going. So it's understandable that Russia says we're not going to allow a mass of terrorists to exist so close to our base. They could make a lightning thrust. They could try a blitzkrieg against the Russian base. No, drive them out. But again, now it's time to shift, I would say, from the political situation around Kasab to the strategic problem of cutting off the entirety of ISIS supplies. Remember, it is Turkish deliveries. Turkish deliveries are the lifeblood of ISIS. There's no other way to put it. So the Turkish deliver ammunition, gasoline, medical supplies, food, recruits, new psychos from around the world, new lunatics, right? Ready, cannon fodder for the next crusade. Even though some of them have lost their taste for martyrdom now that they see what it looks like. So that's the press conference, and that's my advice to Obama. Now, there will be a NATO meeting in Brussels. We're going to watch that. I think that's going to be on, I think, Sunday already. But we have to remember why NATO is bad for the United States. And I have to say it once again. Do you want to be dragged into war, World War III? Look at your children. Look at your home. Look at your family. Look at yourself. You want to be dragged into World War III by Mad Dog Erdogan because he wants the new Ottoman Empire and he's got this irregular army of Saudi-paid terrorists who fought in Libya and now he's got them in northern Syria? You want to die for the sake of those vermin? The Baltic states, oh my God, the greatest pack of Nazis on earth, anywhere. The nostalgics of Nazism are in those unhappy countries, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. You want some tin pot demagogue there to attack, maybe he wants to blow up the Russian war memorial or something, and from there it takes on a life of its own? You want to be dragged into that? No, thank you. How about Poland? Those guys, hotheads, right? William Shirer during the 1930s said it's not clear if these people have learned the lessons of how you have a country, right? How you actually, the obvious thing was if you're caught between Hitler and Stalin, you got to pick one of them, right? And they said, no, we're going to pick the British. Didn't work. So unrealistic thinking thrives. Look at that Kaczynski twin. Look at that guy Tusk. Those people are not realistic, to put it mildly. So you want one of them to drag you into World War III? Why don't you just tell them, fight your own battles, and you'll see them calm down, right? The idea that they have the United States behind them is the biggest of all of the so forget about NATO. Article 5 does not apply. Back in a minute. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio, our Thanksgiving weekend program. Now, I hope we have done some justice to the question of the situation now between Turkey, Syria, and Russia. It's time for war avoidance. It's time for a peace policy. One or two other things. Hollande also mentioned that he's going to be consulting not just with Obama and Putin, but Merkel of Germany and Renzi of Italy. You got to have Italy, man. You want to do something in the Med, you better get those Italian bases. You better get the Italian government on board, right? And the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier is now in the Eastern Mediterranean, and they have launched, I believe, 6 days worth of airstrikes. The problem is these commanders see it just as bombing, right? The kind of thing that Trump says, for example, bomb the blank blank out of them. You've got to have a strategy. You've got to have a notion of logistics, right? Remember, amateurs think of tactics. professionals think of logistics. We got a bunch of amateurs. You can see it a mile away. Anyway, Hollande is that. Now, also, the question of goading Russia. I think we can say with some certainty that this whole thing is coordinated. Something coordinated is going on. Remember that Erdogan, together with Ukraine, right? Poroshenko. We haven't heard from Poroshenko. His policies are obscene. Poroshenko is in cahoots with Erdogan, the madman. And we know that they have this joint terrorist brigade. We know that. They're there. They've announced, right? They flaunted it. But now the electricity to the Crimea, which is Russia, always has been, Russia has now been deprived of electricity. The Crimean Peninsula of Russia, since about, 1770? This area is now without electricity. There's a blackout going on because 4 pylons have been blown up, and you've got some kind of terrorist militia there who are preventing the crews from coming in and repairing the pylons so that the electricity can be restored. Now, this stuff was covered by Minsk too, if I don't miss my guess. So this is Poroshenko's minions. He says, hey, if Erdogan can have ISIS and Nusra and all that, I please have some terrorist militias of my own? No, sorry. And here's another guy who needs to be told, we know you're ready to fight to the last American, but you, sir, are on your own. And you are told to fight your own battles. We will not be there for you. So be reasonable. Make peace. Don't expect us to bail out your demagogy. So, again, ISIS is losing, and this is a very desperate thing. Now, let's go domestic, at least for the end here. By the way, we pay attention to foreign policy because of what some of us learned during the Vietnam era, right? You can have probably one of the best presidents, certainly the best president of the second half of the 20th century in terms of domestic programs was Lyndon B. Johnson. He destroyed himself by foreign adventurism. So there is no division practically between war avoidance on the big world stage and then trying to promote the process of economic recovery. Now let's look at the Republican field. Last week was the week when the Republican Party went from majority reactionary, I think, to majority fascist. The Republican Party is now a fascist party. But within that, we have more advanced elements on the way to Stormtroop Junction. That is to say, Nazis in the Republican Party. And that's Donald Trump. Let's go, Donald, we've had all kinds of names for Donald Trump, right? He's the Samson of the Republican Party. He's bringing down the Republican temple on the heads of the Republican Philistines and Babbitts, I would say. He's also the wrecking ball of the Republican Party, a little bit more modern metaphor. But above all, right now, he's a little Hitler. We have a little Hitler leading the Republican field, a mini Hitler. Look, no applause. There was no applause from any crowd in Jersey City for the Twin Towers coming down. This is absolute myth-making. This is Alfred Rosenberg, right? Myth of the 20th century. This is Nietzsche, right? It doesn't matter what you say as long as it works. Doesn't have to be true. If it gets them going, that's fine. So Trump he asserts that there was a crowd applauding when the Twin Towers collapsed on that afternoon. He also says that he could see people jumping to their deaths from the Twin Towers from his position where he was ensconced about 4 miles away. Well, 4 miles away, he must have had a 6-inch reflector or a pretty big refractor. He must have had some telescope to do that. if it's what he says. So